I'm about to show you the one meal that actually reverses arterial plaque, not slows it down, not manages it, reverses it, and I can prove it. I'm Dr. Elena Morrison, and I've spent 2 decades cutting open chests and looking at diseased arteries with my own eyes. I've held calcified vessels in my hands. I've seen plaque turn living arteries into concrete pipes. And I'm telling you right now, everything you've been told about unclogging your arteries is wrong. The internet is overflowing with nonsense. Lemon water to dissolve plaque, apple cider vinegar to clean your arteries, garlic supplements to melt cholesterol. It's all garbage. Your arteries are not kitchen pipes. Plaque is not grease stuck to the walls. You can't pour Drano down your throat and expect your cardiovascular system to clear out. That's not how this works. And the reason I know is because I've seen what actually happens inside diseased arteries. When I open a chest for bypass surgery, when I cut into a coronary artery that's 90% blocked, I see the pathology, I see the biology, and it's not what you think. Plaque is not cholesterol stuck to your artery wall like grease on a pipe. Plaque is an immune response. It's inflammation. It's your white blood cells attacking oxidized cholesterol, trapped inside your vessel wall. It's an autoimmune war happening inside your arteries right now. And if you want to reverse it, you need to understand the mechanism. Because once you understand what plaque actually is, how it forms, and why it grows, you'll realize the meal I'm about to describe isn't some hippie health food fantasy. It's a targeted intervention. Every ingredient activates a specific pathway. Every compound triggers a specific cellular response. This meal doesn't clean your arteries. It activates reverse cholesterol transport. It forces immune cells to spit out the cholesterol they've eaten. It prevents calcium from turning your vessels into bone. It stops LDL from oxidizing in the first place. This is cellular biology. This is immunology. This is how you actually reverse plaque. Not with a cleanse, not with a detox, with science. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly what's happening inside your arteries right now. You'll understand why standard advice doesn't work, why low-fat diets make things worse, why statins alone aren't enough. And you'll understand the exact meal, the exact ingredients, the exact compounds that activate the pathways your body needs to pull cholesterol out of your artery walls and reverse the disease. This is not theory. This is not a fad. This is peer-reviewed science, and it works. But first, you need to understand what plaque actually is, because if you don't understand the disease, you can't fight it. The real plaque mechanism. What's happening inside you right now? Your artery wall has 3 layers. The innermost layer is called the intima. It's a single layer of endothelial cells. These cells form a barrier between your blood and the deeper layers of the vessel. When these cells are healthy, they're smooth, they're slippery. They produce nitric oxide, a gas that keeps the vessel dilated and prevents blood cells from sticking. But when these cells are damaged by high blood pressure, smoking, diabetes, chronic inflammation, they become dysfunctional. They stop producing nitric oxide. They become sticky. They develop gaps. And through those gaps, LDL cholesterol particles enter the vessel wall. This is the first step in plaque formation. LDL crosses the endothelium and gets trapped in the intima. Now here's the critical part. If that LDL just sat there, it wouldn't be the catastrophe. But it doesn't just sit there, it oxidizes. Think of oxidation as rusting. Your LDL particle is exposed to free radicals in the vessel wall. The fats in the LDL become rancid. The proteins become damaged. The particle becomes oxidized LDL. An oxidized LDL is recognized by your immune system as a foreign invader. Your body thinks it's a pathogen, bacteria, virus, something that needs to be destroyed. So your immune system sends in the troops. White blood cells called monocytes enter the vessel wall. They squeeze through the endothelium. They transform into macrophages. Macrophages are the garbage collectors of your immune system. Their job is to eat foreign material and clear it out. The macrophages see oxidized LDL. They recognize it as dangerous and they eat it. They engulf it through phagocytosis. The macrophage membrane wraps around the LDL particle and pulls it inside. The particle is broken down in a compartment. The cholesterol is extracted. And here's where the problem starts. The macrophage can't process all that cholesterol. It's overwhelmed. It becomes engorged with lipid. It swells up. It transforms into what we call a foam cell, a fat-filled immune cell that looks foamy under a microscope. And foam cells are the foundation of plaque. They're the first visible sign of atherosclerosis. When you do an autopsy on a teenager who died in a car accident, you often find fatty streaks in their arteries, yellowish lines in the vessel wall. Those are foam cells, millions of them clustered together. The disease has already started, and here's the tragic part. Those foam cells are trying to help. They're trying to clean up oxidized LDL. They're trying to protect you, but they get stuck. They can't leave the vessel wall. They can't transport the cholesterol back out. So they just sit there, bloated, sick, dying, and when they die, they rupture. They spill their contents into the vessel wall, cholesterol crystals, inflammatory molecules, enzymes. That debris triggers more inflammation. More immune cells are recruited. More macrophages enter. More foam cells form. The plaque grows. And over years, over decades, this process continues. The plaque expands. It pushes into the lumen of the artery. It narrows the channel where blood flows. You develop symptoms, chest pain, shortness of breath, leg cramping when you walk. But the real danger isn't the narrowing, it's the rupture. Because plaque isn't stable. It's not a solid lump of cholesterol. It's a dynamic inflamed lesion with a thin cap covering a core of dead foam cells and cholesterol debris. That cap is fragile. When it ruptures, the contents spill into the bloodstream. Your blood is exposed to tissue factor, a powerful clotting signal. A clot forms instantly. It occludes the artery. Blood flow stops. If this happens in your heart, you have a heart attack. If it happens in your brain, you have a stroke. If it happens in your leg, you develop gangrene. This is how plaque kills. Not by slowly narrowing the artery until it closes, but by rupturing suddenly and triggering a clot. And here's what's insane. The plaques that rupture aren't always the biggest ones. Sometimes a plaque that's only 40% or 50% occlusive, a plaque that wouldn't even cause symptoms, ruptures and kills you. Because it's not size that matters. It's composition, it's inflammation, it's cap thickness, it's how many foam cells are dying inside it. This is why the standard approach doesn't work. Cardiologists focus on narrowing, stress tests, angiograms. How blocked is it? If it's more than 70%, they stent it. They open it up. Problem solved. Except it isn't solved. The plaque is still there, inflamed, unstable, ready to rupture. The stent prevents symptoms. It doesn't reverse the disease. And the plaques that aren't stented, the ones that are only 30% or 40% occlusive, those are the ones that kill you because nobody is treating them. Nobody is reversing them. They're just sitting there, growing, inflaming, waiting to rupture. So we need a different approach. We don't need to widen the artery. We need to stabilize plaque. Better yet, we need to reverse it. We need to pull cholesterol out of foam cells, out of the vessel wall, back into the bloodstream where it can be transported to the liver and excreted. That process exists. It's called reverse cholesterol transport, and it's the only way to actually reverse plaque. Reverse cholesterol transport, HDL and ABCA1. Your body has a mechanism for this. HDL cholesterol, high-density lipoprotein. You've heard it called good cholesterol. And it is good, but not because it's a different type of cholesterol. HDL is good because it's a transport vehicle. Its job is to pick up cholesterol from tissues and bring it back to the liver. When HDL encounters a foam cell, it docks on the cell surface. It activates a protein called ABCA1, a TP-binding cassette transporter. A1. This protein is like an eject button. It pumps cholesterol out of the foam cell and loads it onto the HDL particle. HDL carries cholesterol away back to the liver. The liver excretes it into bile. Bile goes into your intestines. The cholesterol leaves your body. The foam cell shrinks. The plaque regresses. This is reverse cholesterol transport, and it's the only proven way to reverse atherosclerosis. But here's the problem. Most people's reverse cholesterol transport is broken. A BCA1 isn't activated. HDL isn't functional. Foam cells can't eject cholesterol, so plaque keeps growing until it ruptures, or until you're in my operating room getting your chest cracked open for a bypass, but it doesn't have to be this way. A BCA1 can be activated. HDL function can be restored. Reverse cholesterol transport can be turned on, not with medication, not with surgery, with food, specific foods, specific compounds, eaten in a specific combination, and that's the meal I'm about to describe. But before we get to it, you need to understand one more thing: calcification. Because cholesterol isn't the only problem in your arteries, calcium is worse. Calcification and calcium score. Why arteries turn into bone. As plaque matures, as foam cells die and release their contents, calcium deposits form. Your body tries to wall off inflammation. It lays down calcium like scar tissue, like a scab. Over time, plaque becomes calcified, hard, rigid. Your arteries literally turn into bone. We measure this with a coronary calcium score, a CT scan that quantifies how much calcium is in your coronary arteries. A score of 0 means no plaque. A score of 100 to 400 means moderate disease. A score over 400 means severe disease. A score over 1,000 means you're a walking time bomb. Your arteries are concrete. And that brings me to Thomas. Thomas was 68. He felt fine, no symptoms. But his doctor ordered a coronary calcium score as routine screening. The result came back 836, severe disease. His cardiologist was shocked. How could someone with a score that high have no symptoms? They did an angiogram. His left anterior descending artery was 60% blocked. His right coronary artery was 50% blocked. Not severe enough to stent, but severe enough to kill him if one of those plaques ruptured. His cardiologist put him on a statin, atorvastatin, 80 milligrams, told him to eat a low-fat diet and exercise. Thomas did everything right. He took the statin every day, cut out red meat, ate chicken and fish, walked every morning. 1 year later, they repeated his calcium score, 981. It had increased by 145 points. Plaque was growing, calcifying. Despite the statin, despite the diet, despite the exercise, Thomas was devastated. He came to me asking if he needed surgery. I looked at his angiogram. The blockages weren't severe enough to bypass. But I told him the truth. If he didn't reverse the process, if plaque kept growing, he'd be dead within 5 years, either from a heart attack or on my operating table. Thomas asked what he should do. I told him to stop eating low fat. I told him the exact meal I'm about to give you. I explained the mechanisms: ABCA1 activation, calcium inhibition, oxidation prevention. Thomas said, "My cardiologist told me to avoid fat. You're telling me to eat olive oil?" I said, "Your cardiologist is wrong. Low-fat diets don't reverse plaque. They make it worse because they lower HDL. And without HDL, you can't activate reverse cholesterol transport." Thomas trusted me. He ate this meal every single day, not once a week, not when he felt like it. Every day. We repeated his calcium score 18 months later, 922. It had decreased by 59 points. Plaque was regressing. Calcium was being reabsorbed. His arteries were healing. Thomas is alive today. 5 years later, his calcium score is 841, still high, but declining. The disease is reversing, slowly, but reversing. And he will never need surgery because we caught it. Now let's talk about the meal. This is not a recipe. This is a protocol. Every ingredient serves a purpose. Every compound activates a specific pathway. You can't substitute. You can't skip components. You can't do half of this and expect results. This is all or nothing. The arterial remodeling meal. Exact amounts, exact compounds. Component 1, nitrates, arugula or beets, preferably both. Your endothelium produces nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is the most important molecule in cardiovascular health. Nitric oxide dilates vessels, prevents blood cells from sticking, inhibits smooth muscle proliferation, prevents plaque formation. But in atherosclerosis, nitric oxide production is impaired. Your endothelium is dysfunctional. It can't make enough. So you restore nitric oxide through the enterosalivary nitrate-nitrite oxide pathway. Here's how it works. You eat nitrate foods: arugula, spinach, beets. Nitrate is absorbed in the small intestine. It enters the bloodstream. Your salivary glands concentrate it. 25% of the nitrate in your blood is secreted into saliva. You swallow that saliva. Bacteria in your mouth convert nitrate to nitrite. You swallow nitrite. Your stomach acid converts some into nitric oxide immediately. The rest is absorbed and becomes nitric oxide in the bloodstream and vessel walls. Human studies with beetroot juice show endothelial function improves dramatically within hours. Blood pressure drops. Arterial stiffness decreases. Blood flow increases. But here's the critical part. This only works if you have the bacteria. And what kills oral bacteria? Mouthwash, especially antiseptic mouthwash, chlorhexidine, and Listerine. These products kill bacteria. That's their job. But they kill the good bacteria too, the nitrate-reducing bacteria. Studies prove this. Mouthwash twice a day for a week, then beetroot juice. Nitric oxide production is gone. Blood pressure increases. Endothelial function worsens, all because the bacteria were dead. So if you want this to work, stop using mouthwash immediately. Brush your teeth. Floss. That's enough. Now, how much nitrate do you need? 300 to 500 milligrams of nitrate per day is optimal. That's about 2 cups of arugula, or 1 large beet, or 1 cup of beetroot juice. I prefer arugula because it's easier to eat daily. Use it as the base. 2 to 3 cups of raw arugula. Raw, not cooked. Cooking destroys some of the nitrate. Eat it raw. Within hours, you'll feel it. Warmer hands and feet. Slight blood pressure drop. Improved exercise tolerance. That's step 1. But opening the road isn't enough. You need to move the garbage. You need to activate reverse cholesterol transport. You need to turn on ABCA1. Component 2. High phenolic extra virgin olive oil, Oleocanthal. Not just any olive oil. High phenolic extra virgin olive oil. Olive oil contains a compound called Oleocanthal, the phenolic that makes great olive oil taste peppery. That burning sensation in the back of your throat when you swallow good olive oil, that is Oleocanthal. Oleocanthal does 2 things. First, it's anti-inflammatory. It inhibits COX enzymes like ibuprofen. It reduces inflammation in vessel walls. It calms the immune response. It stabilizes plaque. Second, and this is critical, Oleocanthal upregulates ABCA1. It activates the gene that produces that transporter. More ABCA1 means more cholesterol ejection, more reverse cholesterol transport, more plaque regression. Foam cells shrink. This is shown in cell studies. Foam cells treated with Oleocanthal increase ABCA1 expression and cholesterol efflux. And it's supported in humans, the pre-dimed trial in Spain. 7,000 participants, high cardiovascular risk, randomized into 3 groups. 1, low-fat diet. 2, Mediterranean diet plus nuts. 3, Mediterranean diet plus extra virgin olive oil, 50 milliliters per day. That's about 4 tablespoons, 5 years. At the end, the olive oil group had the lowest cardiovascular events, 30% reduction compared to the low-fat group, but not cheap olive oil. They used high phenolic, fresh Spanish extra virgin olive oil. If you buy cheap refined olive oil that's been sitting on a shelf for months, you're not getting Oleocanthal. You're getting fat. Fat alone doesn't activate ABCA1. You need the phenolics. So buy olive oil that is extra virgin, cold pressed, harvest date within the past year, dark glass bottle. Do the throat test. Swallow a little. It should burn. peppery, harsh, the cough oil. That burn is Oleocanthal. Dose: 3 to 4 tablespoons daily on the salad. Don't be shy. This is medicine. Now you have nitrates for nitric oxide. You have Oleocanthal to activate ABCA1. But you still haven't solved the worst threat: calcification. Component 3, vitamin K2. MK7 and MGP. Vitamin K1 is clotting. Vitamin K2 is calcium routing. K2 activates matrix GLA protein, MGP. This protein is made by smooth muscle cells in your artery walls. Its job is to bind calcium crystals and prevent calcification. But MGP only works if it's activated, and it's activated by vitamin K2. Without K2, MGP remains inactive. It can't bind calcium. Your arteries calcify. They turn into bone. They become rigid. Rupture risk increases. High calcium score means low K2, inactive MGP, uncontrolled calcification. Most people are deficient because K2 is found in specific foods, fermented foods, aged cheeses, and natto. Natto is the richest source of vitamin K2 on Earth, specifically MK7. Studies in Japan show people who eat natto regularly have lower cardiovascular disease, lower calcium scores, and more flexible arteries. When researchers give MK7 supplements, calcium scores stop increasing. In some cases, they decrease. Calcium is pulled out of arteries and redirected to bones. This is the only nutrient shown to reverse arterial calcification in humans, the only one, not vitamin D, not calcium supplements, not magnesium. K2, specifically MK7. Thomas ate 50 grams of natto daily. That provided about 200 micrograms of MK7. His calcium score decreased from 981 to 841 over 3 years. That's regression. That's reversal. Now, I understand most people won't eat natto. It's an acquired taste. So alternatives are aged cheeses like Gouda, Brie, and Edam. They contain about 10 to 20 micrograms per ounce, so you'd need several ounces daily, or supplementation. Dose used in studies, 180 to 360 micrograms per day. This protocol uses 180 micrograms taken with the meal. So component 3 is natto, 50 grams, or aged Gouda, about 3 ounces, or an MK7 supplement, 180 micrograms with the meal. Now we stop calcification, but we still need to stop the spark that starts plaque, LDL oxidation. Component 4, pomegranate arils. Punicalagins and paraoxinase support plaque starts when LDL crosses the endothelium and oxidizes. If you prevent that oxidation, you prevent the cascade. No oxidized LDL means no macrophages eating it, no foam cells, no plaque growth. Pomegranate polyphenols bind LDL and protect it from oxidation. Human studies: pomegranate juice for 1 year reduced carotid intima media thickness. LDL oxidation decreased dramatically. Pomegranate also increases paraoxinase activity. Paraoxinase is an enzyme that rides on HDL. Its job is to break down oxidized lipids. More paraoxinase means HDL becomes more protective, more functional, better at reverse cholesterol transport, but not pomegranate juice. Too much sugar. You want the whole fruit, the arils. 1 cup provides about 300 milligrams of punicalagins, therapeutic dose. Exact meal assembly. Arterial remodeling protocol meal. Now let's put it all together. Start with a large bowl. 2 to 3 cups of raw arugula. This provides 300 to 500 milligrams of nitrates. Add 1 cup of pomegranate arils. Dress the salad with high phenolic extra virgin olive oil, 3 to 4 tablespoons. Now add your K2 component. If you can tolerate natto, eat 50 grams on the side. If not, add aged Gouda, about 3 ounces, on top. Or take an MK7 supplement, 180 micrograms with the meal. That's the meal. No processed ingredients, no powders, just food. Chosen specifically for bioactive compounds that activate the pathways your body needs. Objection 1. That's too much fat. Yes, olive oil is fat. 4 tablespoons is about 500 calories just from oil, but those calories are not the problem. The low-fat dogma destroyed cardiovascular health. For 50 years, we were told to avoid fat and eat more carbs, more grains, more sugar. Obesity skyrocketed. Diabetes exploded. Heart disease stayed the #1 killer. Fat isn't the enemy. Oxidized LDL is the enemy. Inflammation is the enemy. Dysfunctional HDL is the enemy. When you cut fat, you cut HDL. Reverse cholesterol transport slows down. Plaque grows. Low-fat diets also increase triglycerides. Excess carbohydrates get packaged into VLDL particles. These are more likely to oxidize, more inflammatory, more plaque-forming. Low-fat diets increase small, dense LDL, the most dangerous type. But when you eat the right fats, olive oil, omega-3s, your lipid profile improves. HDL increases. A BCA1 is activated. Triglycerides decrease. LDL particles become larger and less likely to oxidize. That's why the Mediterranean diet works. Objection 2. I can't eat this every day. Then you're not serious about reversal. This is medicine. If I prescribed a medication and told you to take it every day, you'd take it every day. This meal activates pathways. Medication can't. Eat it every day. No exceptions. Objection 3. It's too expensive. This meal costs maybe $10 to $15 per day. That's $300 to $450 per month. Bypass surgery costs $100,000. A heart attack can cost $50,000 if you survive. This meal is the cheapest insurance you can buy. Objection 4. Antioxidant supplements don't work. Correct. Vitamin E pills, vitamin C pills, beta-carotene pills. Large studies show they don't reduce events, and some show harm. But that's not what we're doing. We're using whole foods. Pomegranates don't contain one antioxidant. They contain dozens, working synergistically. A pomegranate isn't a vitamin C pill. It's a pharmacy. Objection 5. My doctor told me to take a statin. Isn't that enough? No. Statins lower LDL. They slow growth. They may stabilize. But statins don't activate ABCA1. They don't stop calcification. They don't prevent LDL oxidation. Thomas was on high-dose statin. LDL dropped to 70, and his calcium score still increased. You need both. Statin to lower LDL, diet protocol to activate the pathways. Combined, they work. Separately, they fail. If you want to know if this is working, you need objective measures. Number 1, coronary calcium score. Get a baseline. Repeat in 18 to 24 months. If the score is stable or decreasing, it's working. If it's increasing, you adjust. Number 2, advanced lipid panel. Not just total cholesterol and LDL. Get particle number, particle size, HDL particle number, apolipoprotein B, and lipoprotein A. Target stated here. LDL particle number below 1,000. Apolipoprotein B below 80. Large, buoyant LDL particles. High HDL particle number. Number 3, carotid ultrasound. This measures intima media thickness. Get a baseline. Repeat annually. Number 4, high sensitivity C-reactive protein. This measures inflammation. You want it below 1.0 milligrams per liter, ideally below 0.5. These tests cost money, but they give you proof. If what you heard today makes sense, if you're tired of vague advice, do 3 things for me. First, subscribe to this channel, because if you don't subscribe and engage, this content gets buried, and the next person with a calcium score of 800 won't find it. Second, leave a comment. Tell me your calcium score if you know it, and comment, I'm starting the plaque meal. Third, share this video with one person you care about, because somewhere right now, someone is lying in a hospital bed, recovering from a heart attack, wondering how this happened. This video could help prevent the next one. Now go eat the meal, activate the pathways, heal your arteries. I'll see you in the next video.